theafroberlin.de, and you can just inform yourself about what's going on. And we are jumping now to a country where it's really hot and warm at this time. I would love to be there. We're going to Ghana, in reality, with Zoom. So we're talking to a man who has created or just pushed the animation industry in Ghana. Animation we know most of the time from Asia or from the US, and he's trying to establish, or he established an animation industry in Ghana. So I'm hosting that. By the way, PY Anan Boateng was supposed to host this show here from Ghana. He is not here. He didn't get a visa for the country, so I jumped in 2 days ago and tried to make as good as possible my job here on stage. So if we are ready, do we have Francis on Zoom already? Is he there? He's there. So please welcome Francis with a warm applause. Hi, Francis.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing well. Yourself, how's it going?
Yeah, very good. We're a bit jealous. We'd love to be in Ghana at this moment. So if you open when you open the window, we will see the sun and the green trees. Is that right?
I'm sure you can see it.
Yeah, we have snow in Germany, and it's really cold. So it's winter time.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm really glad to have you in this talk and this panel here because we're talking about animation industry in Ghana, and you are the pioneers in your country, maybe also in Africa at all. You received many awards for your work. For example, at the African International Festival in 2016, you had an award in 2017 at the Indie Film Festival, and at the African Animation Film Festival in 2017 as well. You describe yourself as an accidental entrepreneur. What made you pushing the animation industry in Ghana? Where did you see the gap to go in, and where did you feel that you have to do something on that in your country?
Yeah, so the gap came out a need where when I completed my graduation film and also completed film school in Ghana, and my film was doing very well. I was winning awards internationally, including getting shortlisted for West Africa for the first time in the student Oscars, winning Best Animation Film with my graduation film in Africa at Afro. And that alone made it, it exposed me, it gave me a vision that, okay, this is possible here, and that I don't need to export my talent to Europe or America or Asia to go continue my career. Because one thing I noticed was that animation has been around for a very long time. Over 60 years in Ghana, if I may say, with the National Film Institute, Film and Television Institute, NAFTI. But what has happened was that, or what was happening as at the time was, all the best students and all the best creators were leaving the country because they felt like there was no opportunity for them in animation. So they had to leave for the places where it has already been established. And I myself, I'm a very strong Pan-Africanist. I believe in our stories. I believe in our heritage, culture, and all that. So I said, I'm not going to fall in that line of those who left the country to go chase greener pastures elsewhere, but I'll rather stay here and create that greener pasture, which is leading me to establish AnimaxFYB Studios, which is Ghana's first full-time animation studio.
Apart from the good weather in Ghana and the good food you have, I'm very sure about that, how did you manage to keep young talents in your country instead of going to Europe, to the US, or to Asia?
So it's all about, so the reason why I stayed in the first place is also the same thing that has motivated a lot of young ones in Ghana to aspire to be what I'm building. So for them not to leave, we still have few folks who are living here and there, but me staying in Ghana to establish AnimaxFYB studios actually motivated others to see that it is possible that we can build a studio in Ghana. There's a potential in having our own ecosystem and at the end of the day, creating an industry out of this. And through this, I've seen a lot of different budding studios coming up each and every day, different talents, always seeking for job placement, internship here and there, or even trying to learn from our training facility, which is Koliko Training Facility.
When it's all about storytelling, and we connect with animation always the stories of people in Europe, in the US, or in Asia. What do you think? How big is the challenge to establish stories, realities, lives of African people in animation?
I would say that it's not too challenging for Africans, especially for the fact that Africans, we ourselves, we are very much storytellers. Every African that I meet, when we are talking, it feels like we are telling ourselves stories because we are very oral people, you know. So it's not so challenging, but if you bring it to the medium of animation, then we can talk about facts like the infrastructures, like the tools that we use, the know-hows. That's where there is a bit of a gap that for us to be polished, to know how to use the tools properly in the act of storytelling with these tools. But when it comes to raw storytelling, I think we are masters at it. We just need to learn how to use the modern technology to enhance that storytelling form.
I mean, we're talking about the challenge to establish an African identity, but there is also a chance in it to establish a new narrative and new identities of Africa. Where do you see the chance, and where do you see the options which are open now?
Yeah, I mean, the chance is huge. I've actually created something, a movement that I've been pushing all along for this same identity thing that you just mentioned, and I call it Koliko. Koliko in the local Akan language means puppetry, and puppetry is the oldest form of animation creation. So for us to have our own identity, I believe that we need to start looking into things that can resonate and connect directly with our forms of animation. If you watch the animations coming from Asia, no one will tell you that this is an anime. It's anime. If you're reading their comics, it's strictly manga, and it's because of the forms, the style, how they represent themselves through their costume, through even their hairstyle, their complexion, and all that. So if the budding of the new generation animators and also storytellers coming from Africa using animation as the medium would be bold to also create our own forms, which will someday people will point at it and say, this is coming from Africa, this is our identity, by not shying away from our complexion, our hairstyle, our fashion, our music, even the kind of food that we put in the animation, because it's world building, you know, you're creating a world and you need to create a world that resonates with you. Even if it is a fictional world, you can still stretch that same settings that you're in into a more unlimited imagination of it. So I believe that we can create our own identity through Koliko.
I think it's not only that we can, I think we have to, because as you said, the animation African kids watch from Europe, from the US, from Asia doesn't resonate with their reality, with their day-to-day life. And maybe you have examples where animations are used to educate or at least to create awareness about a certain social issue. Do you have an example for that?
Yes, I mean, for instance, animations, mostly back in the day, animations from Disney were all animations that were projecting America to be the superpower of the world, you see? And this is how we can use animation as a soft power. The more we drive that narrative of a unified Africa, for example, as we are all trying to chase for all the time, or to even project your own country in a better light, because I feel like filmmaking is not just for entertainment, it is also a very great tool for propaganda, of course, and also promoting agendas. So these are the things that we can start educating our talents, our artists, to be socially aware, to be socially conscious of the tools that they have at hand, not just to entertain or to create cool stuff.
So, do you have an example where it worked, for example, where animation is used to present a different point of view and to educate children, for example?
Yes, I would like to go for, say, Transformers, right? It's a typical example. Transformers. America is trying to show you that they are able to build robots that can talk, that are super futuristic, and they fight aliens. They go into the future, they go outside of the planet Earth to go solve problems and all that. Meanwhile, the whole world, they say that the whole world is America. So if they tell you the world is spoiling or the world is going bad, it means that they are telling you America is going bad. You know, all of these things, I can go on and on. Superman, same thing.
I'm talking about examples from an African point of view, where African animes.
From African point of view.
Like African animes, where you have an example.
We are now coming up so much, but then even the godfather of animation in Africa, Alassani from Sudan, that's what he also started off with, creating animations that were very socially conscious. Recently, we can use Iwaju, that is the animation from Uganda and Nigeria collaborating with Disney, seeks to also explore a futuristic Nigeria, which I feel like that whole idea in itself is so genius for us to be projecting into the future, because most of the time in conversations you can hear or tell that people sometimes even feel and think that Africans can't project into the future, maybe next 5 years. We can't comprehend beyond that. So it is very beautiful for us to see such ideas of flying cars and all that in a situation where we see in modern day. There was also a project by Triggerfish in collaboration with Disney once again. It's called Kizasimoto, and it's an anthology which has to do with African futurists. So it was about 10 different shots, 10 minutes each, that they produced with 10 different directors and producers from the continent. And each story is a standalone story that projects also the future of Africa and how we use technology and a bit of our spirituality. So there are projects coming up in that same vein where we're trying to, Mama K, for instance, also on Netflix has the same thing. And Mofra from AnimaxFYB Studios, my studio, also projects that as well.
You were talking about cooperating with Disney and with Netflix and so on. And if we look into the future and you would have unlimited resources, what kind of project would you establish, on what kind of project would you work when you have all resources you need?
When I get all the resources at my disposal, I think the thing that I'll really focus on will be creating our own platforms for Africa and the diaspora, and also for the world in general, because it seems like we always have to be at the mercy of those who have taken their time and resources to build their own platforms, which doesn't belong to us. So it takes priority from us because we always have to go cap in hand, trying to look for space to place our own projects for people to watch. So it is very important that we own ours. And it's very also unfortunate that the ones that we're getting to that stage of building our own platforms, at some point sold it off. Typical example is DSTV, which grew up to become a giant, a monster of a platform for Africa and the diaspora. It's now been sold. And so it makes you question yourself, are we going into lucrative business? Are we going to ever build our own distribution outlets, which is very, very key to what we do?
If we look to the future, and young talents would watch now this panel and listen to you, what is your advice, especially to young talents, for the future, if they want to go into the animation business? Because I think they're the most consumers of animation products from US, from Asia, and from Europe.
Yeah, I would say that young talents need to, first of all, pay attention to details in terms of what they are producing. They have to really create things, look around them and find problems. A lot of problems. They need to identify problems that they can create solutions for with animation, in a very soft way where people anywhere in the world can easily consume it. Also, I'll say that we need to pay attention to the business of things. There's been a lot of times where we only chase the creativity of the craft without paying attention so much to the business of things. And I feel that needs to change. That narrative needs to change. We need to start having billionaires coming out of animation from Africa. And it is very, very possible. And also, we need to also be very much vocal. Creatives, we are also like the mouthpiece of the people. We are not just here to, once again, create cool stuff and just get some applause and awards and some cash and go sleep. We are also the mouthpiece of the people. We are activists in itself. So we need to be bold to tell bold stories that will impact change. We need to influence policies of our countries that will help us build a better future for ourselves.
We'll keep an eye on your work. That's really impressive and very inspiring. Thank you very much. The pioneer of African animation business, Francis Yushau Brown. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.